Kennedy Sanders was one of them. Now, we know the president met today with members of his national security team. They were in the Situation Room at the White House, and we know that there was discussion, or we're told, of a response to all of this. We had a Republican member of the Congress on earlier from Armed Services, and now a Democrat from that committee, Seth Moulton, joins us right now, Democrat out of Massachusetts. So your thoughts today, everybody's thoughts, of course, with these 3 service members who've been killed overseas, but the next thought goes to how should we, as the United States, respond to this?
Right. Well, Connell, first of all, let me, of course, share the sentiments of incredible loss that this unit and these families have endured. And, the message that I think that the families of these 3 American heroes need to hear is that they didn't die in vain, that we have enemies around the globe, including a lot in the Middle East, that want to do us and our allies harm. And that's exactly why they're there. That's exactly why we have troops on the front, literally, in the Middle East. Now, of course, the question is, as you said, how do we respond? And how do we respond in a way that sends a message that this is not acceptable, that we don't want this to happen again? This, of course, is in the context of the reality here, which is that Iranian-backed militia groups have been attacking and killing U.S. troops for 20 years in the Middle East, for 20 years. When I was on the ground in Iraq, we were losing dozens of Americans a month to Iranian-backed militias and Iranian weapons coming directly in from Iran. So this is a long-term problem here President Biden has taken on. And his challenge is, how do we send a message of deterrence that doesn't start a war? Because, of course, starting a war is exactly what these militant groups want. And the last thing we want to do is just play into our enemy's hands.
Okay, so where's that line between that you're talking about where you can have deterrence? Because, the Republicans are saying, former President Trump went so far as to say this was all happened because of President Biden's weakness, effectively, is what he said on social media. So their point is like, we've had all these attacks this most recent round, 150 plus, so whatever's being done is not working. It's not deterring them. So how do you deter without getting to wider war?
Well, first of all, we're in this situation because after 4 years under Trump, Iran got stronger, not weaker. Whatever his policy was, utterly failed. So let's be clear about where Donald Trump and the Republican administration has gotten us.
Of course, Trump talks about the Soleimani strike and all of that and says, no, that would have never happened.
And here we are. That's right. He did that, and we're in a worse position now. And Iran is much closer to having nuclear weapons than before Trump took office. So his policies were an utter failure when it comes to Iran. What President Biden is trying to do in an even more complicated world, now that we have an ongoing war between Israel and Hamas and skirmishes between Israel and Hezbollah complicating the situation in the Middle East, what he's trying to do is send a message to these various militia groups, right? The Houthis down in Yemen, these proxy groups in Iraq and in Syria, that we're going to take you out if you try to take out U.S. troops. But at the same time, we're having even back-channel diplomacy with Tehran saying that we don't need to escalate this into a wider war that, make no mistake, will cost a lot more American lives. That's not good for us. That's not good for us to get bogged down in the Middle East in a war with Iran. That doesn't help us deter China or push back against Putin in Ukraine if we're bogged down in the Middle East. So this means targeted strikes. It means actually taking out personnel, not just facilities.
Right.
It means maybe some cyber attacks, sending a message to Tehran that we're going to hit back hard, but we're not going to start.
Your point, that's been going on 20 years, right? We've tried to send similar messages. I don't know. Say they don't get the message. Say that's the point. They don't get the message and this continues. Are you effectively saying that not we're okay with this, but we've just got to defend ourselves from this? I mean, these attacks have been coming for some time, 150 of them, and the other ones didn't get through. We don't know exactly why this one did, but it did. But do we just have to live with this and defend it? Is that what you're saying, if we're not going to get stronger and not not risk a wider war?
No, I'm not going to say. I say that we're just going to live with the status quo. But the reality here is that there is going to be some tit for tat here, and we're probably not going to solve this problem overnight, or we would have solved it 20 years ago. What it means is that the president, when he's walking a line here, is exactly what he needs to do, and it's what Democratic and Republican presidents have done before President Biden in the past. But look, the long-term solution to the problem with Iran, it is actually at home in Iran, where we've got to do things that empower the forces for reform. And take power away from the hardliners. You know, one of the big problems here is that if we were to just do what some of these Republicans are calling for and attack Tehran directly, that's going to play right into the hands of the worst elements of Iran. That's going to play right into the hands of the hardliners, who are the ones back home in Tehran pushing for this kind of militant behavior towards the West.
Seems like we're so far away from
when you think about this strategically, it's not just about the military action, it's about what kind of diplomatic message does it send as well.
But it seems so long ago when we were talking about Iranian, nuclear talks and those types of things. It seems, so far away from ever getting back to anything like that. I mean, are you suggesting that we should consider it, or?
It's a matter of months. It's just a matter of months ago that we had widespread protests all over Iran against the regime. I mean, there were people just months ago talking about, is this the end of the Iranian regime? So, and obviously that didn't happen. But the point is that, no, this is not just something in the past. This is something that's happening right now today. And I think that, again, the long-term strategic solution here is to turn Iran around. If what Republicans are calling for is to change the Iranian regime by invading Iran.
Right.
I'd like to see them send their sons and daughters to have that fight.
All right, Congressman Seth Moulton, we appreciate your point of view on all this, Democrat from Massachusetts. We do have to take a quick break right now. We'll continue our